Welcome to Americans for Limited Government News. We're so pleased today to bring you Congressman Doug Lamborn of Colorado Springs. He is a member of the House Armed Services Committee. He also represents 5 of our nation's military installations, including Fort Carson. Many of those soldiers at Fort Carson have been fighting the war on terrorism for the last 20 years. Congressman Lamborn has been representing that district since 2006. You've been here for so much of what has unfolded in Afghanistan. And now over the last week or so, Congressman, to watch events on the ground there blow up as they are, and literally today blow up at the airport. What are your thoughts? What is your reaction to what we're seeing, how this is all ending?
And first, I want to say, Catherine, thank you for having me on. You and your organization do great work. I am really distressed and dismayed and angry about what's going on in Afghanistan, including today's killing by ISIS-K of at least a dozen Marines and some indeterminate number of Afghan civilians. It's horrific. And I lay this at the feet of Joe Biden. He's the worst president we've had in our lifetimes. You know, worse than Jimmy Carter, worse than Barack Obama. And what Joe Biden is doing is he's stubbornly refusing to face the facts. He's getting advice from the intelligence community and from military advisors saying it's impossible to pull out by August 31st. That doesn't faze him. He says we are going to pull out no matter what. And basically letting the Taliban dictate terms to him. We hadn't had anyone killed in Afghanistan in a year and a half. And now, because of this chaotic turmoil at the airport, we've had a dozen of our dear men and women in uniform, Marines, trying to serve our country the best that they can. Now they're dead from a bomb. And what he's doing is so bad for our nation's security and our standing in the world. He's unfit to be Commander-in-Chief.
Are you calling for impeachment or resignation, or where are you at with that?
The only thing that stops me from calling for his resignation or impeachment is that Kamala Harris would become president in his place. And if something happens to her, Nancy Pelosi would become president. And those are 2 horrible choices to run our country. So, but he's unfit to be Commander-in-Chief. And the Democrats aren't going to stop siding with him anyway, even though privately they admit this is horrible policy. And some even come out and say it publicly.
So it sounds like you're really laying the blame here with the Biden White House, because a lot of us around the country are wondering, was this a failure of our intelligence community or the top brass at the Pentagon or the State Department? How does that all unfold to you?
Catherine, everyone knew that ISIS-K wanted to kill people at the airport, either by suicide bombers or by vehicle-borne IEDs. We had the intelligence that told us they were working on that night and day, trying to accomplish that horrific goal. And that's exactly what happened. But because of the turmoil at the airport and the fact that this evacuation has been done so shoddily and so hurriedly to meet artificial deadlines, they were not prepared for what happened. We know that there's a total lack of preparation when you look at all the military equipment that's being left behind. The Taliban have more Black Hawk helicopters than Australia does, an entire country. We don't even know how much ammunition and guns and weapons they have of high quality. These are U.S. weapons that are going to be used against us potentially here shortly in the future. So this was poorly carried out. Donald Trump, and some of us really wondered about the wisdom of withdrawing when we could have, kind of like with Korea and Germany, we have troops over there since World War II or since the Korean War, and we could have kept a small amount of troops in place to keep a cold peace, if you will, as the Afghans hopefully were building up their security ability and capability and capacity. But at least Donald Trump had measured a measured approach and had conditions. Like the Taliban had to negotiate with the government. They had to not stop targeting Americans. They had to respect the rights of women and girls. And so we had conditions. Joe Biden threw all those out the window. He has no conditions with the Taliban. He just said, okay, we're going to be out of here by August 31st, imposing this artificial deadline. He wanted to be out on September 11th. That was his first impulse. Mm-hmm. And that would have been horrible for our country if he had made a defeat on that day that we hold sacred.
Right. Terrible.
So he is such a poor commander-in-chief.
And several weeks ago in a congressional hearing, you had the opportunity to ask General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, about the decision to abandon Bagram Air Base. Did you ever get a satisfactory answer to that question? Because it appears that was one of the biggest failures in all this, is not leaving a second airport to get in and out of that country. Where are you with that?
And I never did get a satisfactory answer. And I'm going to excoriate them next time I talk to them for not giving an answer. But they don't have a good answer. There's no way to explain how that makes any sense. It's just Joe Biden is fixated and obsessed with getting every single American out of Afghanistan and letting the Taliban run rampant. Or today we see ISIS-K running rampant. If we had kept Bagram Air Force Base that we spent a lot of money improving, we would have had a second place for evacuations. Sure, it's 40 miles away, but we would have had a second place with 2 runways, not just 1 runway. It was a lot more defensible, and it would have worked so much better, especially if you had 2 airports going at the same time. It would have reduced a lot of the congestion and ability to kill people that we saw tragically today.
And my last question for you is, you put out a statement a few days ago in which you noted that the U.S. military is focused on, quote, white rage, critical race theory, and climate change, while the Taliban was capturing Kabul. In the larger picture, what are your concerns as a member of the House Armed Services Committee? You have oversight over our military forces. What are your concerns about what is happening with our military and the sort of woke culture that seems to have be dominating right now?
Catherine, that's a great question. And it's distressing to see their lack of focus in some cases with some of the people that Joe Biden has brought in and put in place, some of the political appointees, and by extension, those who have to follow their orders, are concentrating on these social causes and not on making our men and women in uniform the best trained and equipped in the world. They're losing their focus. And that's really unacceptable. And it's a focus on things that are not helpful in the first place. When you let people be taught that our country is irredeemably racist, that undermines their willingness to sacrifice for our country. It's not a true statement and shouldn't ever be taught. But if someone buys into that, they're going to lose their motivation to serve this country. And I think that's tragic.
Well, we really appreciate your time and your insights. And is there anything you would like to add? Our organization is committed to limited government. And I know that's what you fight for every day on Capitol Hill and when you're back in your home district. And we are grateful for what you're doing. And we just want to let you know that so many Americans are in it with you, fighting for limited government. And thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Let's stay in touch on these important issues.
Okay. Thank you.